Very good afternoon. Today we will discuss concept of requirement engineering. Myself Dr. Ruchi Gupta, Associate Professor IT Department. So I have already discussed the process of requirement. What are the category of requirement in my previous lecture. So as I have already discussed in my previous lecture that what is the process of generating or preparing the SRS. So because SRS is the outcome of requirement engineering. So today we will discuss the various steps of requirement engineering in detail. So these are various phases of requirement engineering as I have already discussed in my previous lecture. That problem statement, feasibility study, and this is the outcome input for the requirement engineering, and SRS is the outcome for the requirement engineering process. And these are the various phases of requirement engineering process like elicitation, analysis, documentation and review. So problem statement I have already defined. Feasibility have a study. There are 5 category of feasibility or 5 factors about the feasibility study: technical, economical, legal, operational and schedule. I have already defined in my previous lecture. Then we come on the first step of requirement engineering process, that is requirement elicitation. So we have discussed this step in detail. So requirement elicitation means the gathering of the requirement or the collection of requirement from the user as well as other stakeholders of the company like managers, entry level users, developers, etc. So it is the process of gathering the requirement, and the requirements are to be identified with the help of customer as well as with some existing process. What is the existing process and what the customer wants in new system. So sometimes called these requirements are called requirement discovery process, and requirement elicitation is the very most error prone phase of SDLC, because if error occur in the first phase of SDLC, then that error will propagate at the last phase, and finally we get some output, that is the output in the form of software product that can be inefficient. So these are the perhaps about the requirement elicitation process. It is more difficult, more error prone step, most communicate intensive process, and effective customer developer relationship will be maintained in this step. Now if we are talking about the methods of requirement elicitation, so we have used various methods for collection of the requirement like brainstorming method, interview method, FAST method, QFD method and use case diagram method. So the first method is a interview method. So after receiving the problem statement from the customer, now the next step is for gathering the information for the new software from the customer as well as other stakeholders of the company. This is our next step. So the first step is to arrange a meeting with the customer. So we have to arrange a meeting for the collection of the requirement from the customer. So it identifies that all the users and stakeholders who may influence or may impacted by the system. This helps or ensure that needs of all those involved in taken into account. And during the meeting or interview session, both parties understand the expectation of each another. And the objective of conducting an interview is to understand the customer expectation or requirement for the software. So we use 2 type of interview. One is a closed interview and another one is an open interview session. So in the closed interview session, engineer or the analyzer will prepare a list of questions or related to the problem, and it may ask from the user, and a list of question and answer is to be prepared, and it is a one-way communication. One party will arise the question and one party will give the answers about that questions. So, second category is a open interview. So, there is no agenda and the requirement engineer discuss. It is an open-ended session. Anyone can give their views, and after that means there will be no specific approach for the collection of requirement in this open-ended session. The success of the project, it depends upon the both sessions, like open-ended or interview sessions or a structured method, and the various users are involved in this process, in this requirement gathering process, like entry level personals, middle level stakeholders, managers and users of the softwares. Now, if we are taking about the some questions about the result management system, as we are all aware about the concept of result management system. So, these questions may be arise. Any problem with the existing system, any calculation error, possible reasons for malfunctioning, and how many number of students enrolled in this program. Some possible benefits, satisfied with the current policies, how are you maintaining the records of the previous students, any specific problem, any additional functionality you want to include in the proposed system, most important goal of the proposed development, and at the end we may hide variety of expectations from the proposed software. Now, the second category is the brainstorming session. This is also a similar type of method which we have considered in the interview sessions. We have to prepare a list of questions and we have to ask these questions from the user. And in the interview session, I have already discussed that it is a one-to-one communication method, but in the brainstorming session, we have it is an open-ended session, and each and every user are freely discuss their ideas. They easily freely can give their views about the problem. So, we have collect more information as compared to the interview session in this method. So, it involves putting questions relevant to the topic, and so that we have to collect the information. Sample size audience, it is an open-ended session. Multiple choice questions we have to arise, and we have to give some rating in this session. And it is basically a group discussion method. It is an open-ended group discussion method, and with the help of this brainstorming session, new ideas quickly will be generated, because each and every user of their expertise field, they will have to give the ideas about their field, and we have to collect new ideas. Creative thinking is also included in this method. Number of users are involved, number of stakeholders are involved in this process, users, middle level managers, total stakeholders of the company. Now, we are using another method for the requirement elicitation process, that is FAST method. FAST is a facilitated application specification technique. So, it is similar to the brainstorming session. It is also a team oriented approach, and it is a joint team of customer and developers, means all these stakeholders will sit together and they will give their ideas. But there is a slight difference between the brainstorming session and the FAST method, is that in the brainstorming session there will be no evaluator, or there will be no any analyzer is involved in the team. All the users are equally responsible, all the users give their views, and no one can work like a mediator or authenticator. So, in this case, we have to appoint one person as a facilitator. That person is responsible for arranging the meeting between the various stakeholders of the company. They will responsible for creating the list of cautions, they have to finalize the agenda, and they are the whole soul in charge of that meeting. So the guidelines for this fast method is arranging a meeting into the natural site, establish the rules for the participation, informal agenda to encourage free flow of idea, and the company will appoint a facilitator for this fast technique, and that user is responsible for preparing a definition worksheet as well as stickers. Participants should not criticize or debate, because one user will appoint as a facilitator. They have to maintain this meeting, and this is used by the system. List of constraint functions and activities of this fast session. Every participant prepare his or her list about these problem, and finally the facilitator will combine this list of topic. A open discussion method will done in this process. Sub items of mini specifications are there. Validation will be checked by the facilitator, and finally the facilitator will prepare a draft about the whole discussion. Now the next method of requirement elicitation is a quality function deployment method. So this method is basically at each and every level we have to collect more and more information about the project. So in this process we have to directly incorporate the voice of the stakeholders into the text, because there is a problem that if we have to give some information and if some other person will collect our data, so there is a chance of some missing some information, because it is a human nature that some information can be missed by the user. It may be a facilitator or it may be any user of the company. So in this process we have to fill this gap of communication with the help of this quality function deployment method. So what we have done in this method, we have directly convert the voice of the customer into the form of text, so that there will be no communication gap, there will be no information can be missed with the help of this process. And we have to collect all the requirements like normal, expected and existing requirement from the customer as well as from the developer. So these are the steps of this process. We have to identifying the stakeholders, prepare the list of requirements and degree of importance of each requirement. Now the last method of this requirement elicitation is the use case diagram. So use case diagram method was firstly implemented by Edward Jackson and other introduced use case approach for elicitation and modeling. It is a functional view. It is a functional approach of analyzing the software. So use case diagram is basically, it is a graphical representation method for analyzing of requirement or collecting of requirements. So use case are structured or online template for the description of user requirement and modeled in the structured language like in English. So use case, it is initiated by the user with some particular goal in mind. We have to cap some particular goal in our mind, and we have to create the user case diagram and complete successfully that what that goal is to be satisfied. These are various components of use case diagram which we have used at the timing of designing of use case diagram. One, we have to take actor. So who is actor? Actor is any user or any external agent that lies outside the system model, what interface within some way. Actor may be a person, machine or any information system. Secondly, we have to take the process, the work which has been done by the system, And third one, we have to take the system boundary. And fourth one, we have to take the relation between the actor and the process. So use case should not be used to capture all the details. Basically, it just show the external details of the software. We never define the internal functionality of the software through the use case diagram. It only significant aspect of the required functionality. No design issues to be involved in the use case diagram. And use cases or always define what the system. It never define how the system will be designed. It is free of design, or we can say that use case diagram is never show any technical jargons or details. So this is an example of use case diagram for the result management system. As we have seen here as we are all aware about the concept of result management system, we all are already using this such type of system. So if we are take this result management system, so suppose there are three actors are involved in this process. One is data entry operator, another one is a admin, another one is a student or teacher, and this is the system boundary. This is the boundary of the system. These are the actors and these are the processes that has been done by the actors. So it shows the functionality of the software, that what the system will do after implementation. So here we have seen that first of all, the data entry operator is responsible for the login process. First of all, he will log in into the process. Then data entry operator is responsible for maintaining the student details. The student details means the detail about the new student, about the update, and about deletion of students. Means user will calculate each and every information. The data entry operator will maintain the whole student record about their new student, about the upgradation of the student, as well as about the deletion of student. Data entry operator also maintain the subject details, new subjects, upgradation of the subjects, as well as deletion of the subjects. And data entry operator is also responsible for maintaining the results detail. So once we have a detail of student and subject, then only we can prepare the reports. Now, what is the role of admin? Admin will log in into the system, and admin can generate the results report, and admin can also view the results. Now, if we see the role of student or teacher, then student can only view log in into the system, or they can only view the results as per their ID. So with the help of this diagram, with the help of this use case diagram, we can easily analyze the system functionality. Still, the system is not implemented properly. System is not implemented. We have just collecting the requirement from the customer, and as per the collection of the requirement from the various stakeholders of the company, we have to prepare, we have to create a use case diagram that show the overall functionality of the software. So with the help of by seeing this use case diagram, we can easily analyze that what the system will perform after implementation. So we can easily show all the functionality, like in the maintain student details, we can add, modify, update student details like name, address, phone number of the student. Secondly, we have to maintain the subject details. We can add, modify, update subject information semester wise. Now we can maintain the result information that includes error of entry of marks and assignments, credit points of each paper, etc. Next, login function or login process. It provide the way to enter through user ID and password. Then generate result report process. It showed the use to print various reports about the marks or the student. Finally, the view results. It shows as per according to the course code. You can view the result as per the course code, and you can also view the result according to the enrollment number or the roll number. As we have already aware that we have to see our result from the university side by putting our roll number, and on the base because it is our unique ID, and on the basis of this roll number we can see our results. So this is all about our use case diagram. This is another login. The use case describe that how the user log into the result management system. Actors, there are various actors are involved like data entry operator, admin, faculty, staff. There are number of actors are also involved. So with the help of this use case diagram, we can easily show the whole functionality of the system without implementation. So thank you very much.